Yeah, so first I'm going to lay out the generations one by one so that everyone can have like a basis for what we're putting this into this criteria. And there's five in total. I'm gonna start off with number one. Number one would obviously be the kids who grew up with it before anyone else. These are the ones who started with Dragon Ball at the beginning in 1984. They would have most likely known about Toriyama's work, like Dr. Slump and stuff like that, pre Dragon Ball, and just kind of came into Dragon Ball with Toriyama from that era. These kids started with the franchise. They had it pretty much a raw experience of Dragon Ball where they read the manga, they saw the TV shows, they saw the movies all air in sequential order as they should have came out. And these would be people like K17's, Ichiro Oda, like guys who went on to work in the business itself.
Toyotaro.
That's generation one. Generation two takes you to America, this side of Dragon Ball, where they most likely would have gotten it around the mid to late 90s. It's a big era that I clumped into one. Yes, there are like a lot of subsections of these eras, but it's like clumped into one. This is generation two. This would be like your era where you got into it in the mid 90s.
Yes, that would be me. And also, it was during this time that Latin Americans got in, Mexicans and South Americans, but they got Dragon Ball and Z all the way through before we did. So if you're talking about just the 90s, they would be a bit more in the early to mid 90s, whereas America and Australia would be mid to late 90s. But they had all of it. We did not get all of Z and Dragon Ball until 03, like when it's all said and done.
And like these kids would have grown up on the websites created by the Gen 1 kids, and they would have started their own websites. They're the ones who started the AMVs. They were tape trading. They were doing all that stuff, which the AMVs they made would have been seen by us, the Gen 3 kids, right? The Gen 3 kids are the ones who got into Dragon Ball during the slump, where there was no Dragon, like GT was over. Like that was over, and even in America, at some point, like GT ended, and that was it for Dragon Ball. We got into it from that era on. And the one cool thing about like Gen 2 and Gen 3 kids is there's chunks of the series missing for each of us, where y'all would have missed Dragon Ball, seen it out of order at the very least, and we wouldn't have had the Buu arc. So that's one
and the
thing
censorship
that the Gen 3
of Kai
kids have, because Gen 3 kids is from like that dead era of Dragon Ball up to like Kai, when you get into Kai. Gen 4 would be anyone who didn't see it before Beerus. So if you didn't know about Dragon Ball before Beerus, you're most likely a Gen 4, where you are unlike Gen 3 and Gen 2, where you at least knew what the series was like up to Dragon Ball, up to GT. The Gen 4 kids wouldn't have had any basis for that because they didn't get into Dragon Ball at that time, right? And this is where like you got people who get into Dragon Ball from there, and even heavier in Super. So these kids really grew up on Super. They're the children of the Gen 1 kids and the early Gen 2 kids, right? And then you get to Gen 5. So this is the latest generation where it's like, now you got kids who, they're the children of the Gen 3 kids, as Akio Yoku said. The kids who grew up on like GT or the later stage era of Dragon Ball had kids, and these would be the Gen 3 Gen 5 kids. So they're growing up right now seeing the life in this post-Super, post-Toriyama era of Dragon Ball. Yeah, and so these Gen 5ers would be like, what you call a post-87, I guess, for Dragon Ball.
You say that, but 3 and up would be post 87. But yeah, no, these are the ones that got in through Daima, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. Like this era of kids is growing up with just the internet being so ubiquitous with life, because I remember a time before phones. Like it's a small period of time that I remember before the iPhone was a thing, but like these kids are growing up with internet like crazy. And like I'm young compared to you, because like you were born in the Stone Ages, relatively speaking,
old,
like relatively
speaking. Yeah, pre-cell phone world was harder, much harder, but also in some ways better. And there's books that go into that too, let me tell you.
But let's stick with the Gen 1s for now, right? Because that's the topic we're on. Like, the Gen 1s would have gotten into Dragon Ball, usually, as you said, like, before Dragon Ball was even a thing, like, with the Dr. Slump and all that stuff. Their love of Dragon Ball isn't even Z. Like, they love the original stuff more. Like, you see all these interviews with Toriyama where they're talking about, what was your favorite moment in Dragon Ball? And I always see it's, oh, when Kuririn died, like when Kuririn was killed. They love the earlier stuff because that's what they grew up on.
Yeah. I talked to a guy once who was a Japanese streamer, and he noticed that I had Frieza, or a Frieza-looking character, as my avatar, and was asking about Dragon Ball. And he said, and again, the Japanese are so different. He said, yeah, I read that when I was younger, but I didn't finish it. I got up to the 21st tournament. And so think about it. He didn't even get into any of the Z stuff. He just read up until the 21st tournament. And that's so weird. And so I think there's a generation, and this is weird for an American to understand, but I think there's a generation which would fit into number one, or maybe number zero if you want to go there, who read Dr. Slump, saw Toriyama as only a comic book manga artist, and a comedy gag manga artist. And so when Dragon Ball got more serious, they just weren't interested. And that's the opposite of a lot of people. So I haven't talked to that many. I just know that a lot of them do not like modern Dragon Ball. They don't like Super. And the reason as to why they slap Toriyama's name on everything is because of the amount of respect he has, and because of that generation. Because they if it doesn't have his name on it, bro, they're not even gonna try it. They're not even gonna entertain it, which sucks because now that he's passed away, anything new Dragon Ball they don't care about. But Daima's there to create a new generation of fans, and that was one of the intentions. So hey, it is what it is, man.
It's like if you like Kubrick's work, right? And Kubrick, he makes movies, and all of a sudden, that last movie he made, he dies, right? Because that last movie he made, when he died, like, you just don't want to see it because it's not Kubrick. Because these people got into Toriyama or Dragon Ball through Toriyama, same way that people would have gotten into Stanley Kubrick through Kubrick's work.
AI he was supposed to do, he died, and then Steven Spielberg took over, and that's probably what you're thinking of, that he never got to finish it. Yeah, fuck that movie. I ain't watching that movie ever again, bro. Do not watch that movie if your mom has passed away. Do not watch it. The ending will destroy you. So don't watch it. It's bad. I mean, it's a good movie, but it's not good to watch if you've been through that. Yeah, so this generation, like, some of them are still around though. Like, this was the generation that recorded Dragon Ball on TV on VHS tapes, like
K-17.
Like K-17, exactly who I was gonna say, and that's how we have the broadcast audio. So I'm glad that they exist. Plus, they were the first ones to record it, because there were people in Japan who were expats, or like Americans living abroad or working abroad, like Daimao. The guy, what the hell is his name? Curtis Hoffman. Yeah, he was writing up reports and episode summaries on Dragon Ball as it was airing in English, like translating it. So that's the earliest generation, bro, like that. And some of them had early websites in like 98, 99, GeoCities and stuff that doesn't exist anymore. That's what was around then, bro. So that would be the OGs. That's where they would go. There's not many of them left, but yeah, like, that are still interacting. I mean,
but that also brings me to a point that I was talking about. I was speaking with a friend the other day. We were talking about how streaming is just like, it kind of kills the experience. Like, do you remember, and this is something that like previous generations, not just Gen 1, would experience. Like, back when you were a kid and you would watch an episode, and then it would come out weekly, and you would go talk to your friend the next day, like, did you see what so-and-so happened on such and such? And you would build that, emotion. Talk. It's almost like that. I was watching Mr. Fusion's video for movie 4, and he was talking about how, like, the kids reading Dragon Ball must have been at a fever pitch waiting for SS, like, Goku to transform in the manga, because they're hearing about this transformation. So when movie 4 came out, they just wanted to see Super Saiyan. So when they saw it, it was like,
it was the movie came out like 10 days before the actual reveal in the manga. Yeah, it was right around the same time.
Same thing with Trunks showing up in Terminator 2.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're waiting for that. But now, where you have everything just, thrown at you and people binging the shows, they don't have that anymore.
I mean, and the old stuff I think is better than the new stuff anyways, writing wise. I mean, But you're right, and not just that. They had, remember, they had the manga, the anime, and 2 movies a year. Like that. That is insane. And video games as well, bro. They were older, but yeah, I mean, that was the peak. That was the peak. We did experience that with Super and Daima because those were also weekly and they weren't binged. But I was worried.
And I know you brought the Latin American dub, but the French also got a lot of stuff too. They also got treated well.
The French got a lot of stuff that we didn't get, bro. Damn them.
And that's the thing about me and you. We're both by a lot of things, and lingual is one of them. But that's the cool thing about the French dub is that there's actually a Bardock.
Speak for yourself, bro. Speak for yourself.
And I actually got my mom into, well, not into Dragon Ball, but the first thing of Dragon Ball she's seen was Bardock. I showed her the Bardock special in French, and she got to watch it for herself. And her favorite part was when Bardock disowned his son because his power was like so low.
That's interesting, bro. And when you say my mom, it's like I think about my mom and she would just think this is all silly cartoons. You know what I mean? She wouldn't know the difference.